What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Priscilla. I'm a Nigerian women's wear designer based in the UK. This video is going to be a pattern tutorial for this very trendy one shoulder blazer dress. I remember seeing the inspiration for this design on Pinterest and I knew I wanted to try it out, make it, just do something around the concept. I don't know who the original designer is, but I'll write it somewhere on the screen so you guys can go check out their collection. But that black blazer double-breasted dress really inspired me, so I went ahead to do my own design. I added the shoulder strap and I just made it like a simple button up the center front. I made it a bit longer so I can wear it out and actually get use out of the dress. This video is going to be a pattern tutorial, so the next one is going to be the actual sewing tutorial where I show you how I use the patterns and how to put everything together. If you want to see how I made the pattern, make sure to keep on watching. But before we go into this video, I need to show you guys the t-shirt I'm wearing. I'm like so hyped. It is the Kim Dave merch. Let me just dim the light a bit so you see, because it's washing it out. It's a Kim Dave merch. I am wearing a medium because I wanted it to be a little bit loose while I have it on, and it's this nice V neckline which I think is very flattering on a lot of body shapes. I'm going to leave a link down below to the other items on this African woman collection, and it's basically a line of t-shirts and homeware and accessories that were inspired by this print. That is literally a side portrait of my face, but I just thought doing a digital illustration on this and then adding it to t-shirts and garments that you can wear with your own creation would be a fun way to, I don't know, celebrate the summer as it gets warmer. So make sure to go check them out, support the team, support the community so I can continue to make videos here on YouTube. And without further ado, let's actually jump into this video. I don't know why I'm so excited today. I'm just very excited for some reason, but yeah, let's get over this tutorial. To bring this blazer dress design to life, I'm going to be working with the following materials and tools. I'm going to be needing my tape measure to take down any necessary measurements I need. I have my paper, scissors, my marker pen, pencil, eraser and sharpener. I'll also be needing the following blocks. I have my sleeve, my basic bodice, front and back, which I already have tutorials for and will be linked down below. I also need my pattern master set square as well as my long ruler. For fabrics, I decided to work with a combination of plain pink suiting that I have 2 meters of. And then I have this black and white really small checkered suiting wool, and I have just 1 meter, and I thought combining the two of them will make a really lovely color contrast for the dress design. So these are the measurements that you need to keep in mind. Just ensure you decide on how long you want the dress to be, and if you want that extra shoulder strap on the other side that doesn't have a sleeve. So the first thing we'll be doing is we'll be planning our front pattern, and I went ahead to trace around my front basic bodice block around the neck, front, side, as well as transferring my darts. You also need to make it longer to whatever measurement you're comfortable with. I decided to work with 86 centimeters or 34 inches, which is a little bit above my knee. So next up, you need to extend your center front line by 3 centimeters or half an inch. Just know the more you extend this line outwards, the more wrapped across to be in the front. So if you want something double-breasted, you need to extend this center front line even further. So I'm just going ahead to extend the neck, waist and hip line across, as well as indicate that this is my front. So next up, we'll be drawing in our lapel shape. I decided to extend my neckline by 7 centimeters or 3 inches. You can make your lapel wider or thinner depending on your preference. Then I'm going to be connecting that edge of that 7 cm point back to my waistline, but because I wanted to finish nice and smoothly into the waist, I'm going to curve it back into that center front line that we'll be working with, and that is where your first button is going to be. So next up, I'm going to be drawing in my Riviere collar, and the Riviere collar for this blazer dress is a little bit different because it doesn't go into the typical back neckline. So I'm just drawing in the front edge like this because I want it to be curved and be the same width as your lapel on this end. I'm just adding a notch on this front neckline here, and because the Riviere collar is going to go from that front and it's going to go down the back of the dress, you would need to measure from one shoulder to the armhole of the other side. So you either measure your mannequin, measure yourself, or measure your client, just to get an accurate idea of what that side of the Riviere collar is going to be. I'm working with this mannequin because it's a similar measurement to my body, and I'm going to be adding whatever that measurement is from the shoulder point upwards, because that is the side that is going to fit into the back of the blazer dress. So the length for the back is going to be 14 inches because I'm minusing 2 inches to prevent the collar from going all the way into the armhole on the other side of the dress. So I'm just extending it upwards like so until we reach our 14-inch point. I'm just using my set square to ensure that the line is straight and is going in the right direction. And I'm just going back in with my marker pen and my tape measure to mark 14 inches from the shoulder point. The collar width at the back is 6 centimeters or 2 inches. You can decide to make yours a bit wider if you want to, but I wanted mine to taper gradually from the front all the way to the back, so it looks like it's getting sort of slimmer as it's traveling to the back of the blazer dress. So I'm just connecting that 6 cm point to the front of the Riviere collar, and this is what it should look like. The reason why it's long is because it's going from the front and is going all the way to the back of the dress. Riviere collars are not this long if it's just a normal blazer or if it's a normal suit jacket. It's because this design is a little bit different, and that's what makes the shape this way. The next step is not really compulsory, but if you want to divide your front into 2 panels, you can go ahead and do that. I just like to have a seam across this particular side of blazer and blazer dresses. I don't know, it's just personal preference. So I'm just dividing this side across like so I can get rid of my darts, and that entire part of that side of the jacket can become a seam. So once we've divided it in 2 successfully, we can ignore the darts, and then we'll trace off one panel in the front and the second panel on the side to make that side of the front of the blazer dress. So the side marked in red is going to be panel 1, and the side marked in blue is going to be panel 2. So I just went ahead and traced out my panels, added my 1 centimeter seam allowance. Don't forget to transfer your notches because this dress design has a few pattern pieces, so you need to be able to figure out how to connect things together, and notches is one of the ways that will make your life a whole lot easier. So I also traced out my panel 2, added my 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way around, and I added a 3 centimeter hem allowance because I want to be able to attach a lining on the inside of the dress. Next up, we'll be planning the facing and the lining for this side of the front. So I'm just marking 7 centimeters or 3 inches from the front edge along the hip line here, and I'm going to be drawing a straight line from the waist to the hip down to the hem of the blazer dress, and then I'm going to be drawing sort of a diagonal line that goes to the shoulder, because you want to be able to have one side that is a facing and one side that is a lining. And I don't like to have darts in my facing because I just want the facing to be the part that connects the front of this side of the dress, so when you fold the lapel over, you see a corresponding neat edge on the inside of the dress. So that line is going to be the dividing line for the facing and the lining. So by the time you trace out the side that has the lapel, that will become the facing, and then the other side, including the dart, is going to become the lining on the inside of this front side of the dress. So I went ahead and I traced out my front facing and my lining, added my 1 centimeter seam allowance as well as my hem allowance. Tracing out is very simple and it's very straightforward. You just cut out fresh pattern paper, place it over your plan, and just trace along the lines that you want to keep in your pattern. You transfer your notches, you add your grain line, and you add indication of what exactly that pattern piece is. So I went ahead and also traced out my Riviere collar because you need to cut 2 pieces in order to have a whole Riviere collar that sits into the neckline of the blazer dress from the front, traveling into the back of your design. Because the other side of this blazer dress has a different neckline, you would need to plan it on your front pattern and then trace it out separately. So I'm just drawing in the neckline that I want, and because this side doesn't have a full sleeve, we're going to shave off the sort of the shoulder part and the arm curve of this side of the front. So this will make more sense when we actually trace this pattern out. First of all, I just went and I used pencil to draw in the line, and then I defined the line with my pattern master and my set square. So to ensure this side is fitted on your bust, I marked 1.5 centimeter on each edge of this dart line, and I'm drawing it back into the dart, so when you sew up that edge, it stays nice and flat on top of your bust. So I'm just going in here to define this curve like so, because this is going to become sort of the neckline of this other side of the blazer dress. So this is going to be the other side of the front. So by the time you trace out this edge like so, you trace out panel 1 and panel 2, you trace out the facing and the lining for this other side of the front of the blazer dress, because one side is a full with sleeve with full lapel, and then the other side would have the top edge missing. So I went ahead and I traced out the front for this other side. I added my 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way around, as well as my 3 centimeter hem allowance. So because this pattern is mirrored, when you are cutting this particular pattern onto fabric, you have to flip the pattern to the other side, so it mirrors the correct side of the front of your garment. Whenever you're doing anything asymmetric, you always have to consider what side is the left and what side is the right hand side. So I just cut out my patterns for this other side of our front. This is going to be the patterns that you would use to create the other side of the front of your blazer dress, and the ones you did initially is going to be the ones I used to make the full side with the sleeve that we did initially. So you have a full front, and then we can go ahead and create our full backs. So now that we've made our main front patterns, it's time to create our back patterns. For the back of the blazer dress, I went ahead and I traced around my back bodice and made the length to correspond with the front, which was 86 centimeters or 34 inches. I also transferred my back darts, and to get the other side, you just flip the pattern over, you trace around the neck, the shoulder, the armhole, the side, and make it longer so it matches the other side to have a full back piece, so we can go ahead to plan the other design. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm adding a center back dart, and to do that you mark 1.5 centimeter on each side of the center back line along the waist, and you just connect that back to the hip and sort of the upper side of the back of the dress. This would ensure that when you have your blazer dress on, it doesn't do some weird folding at the back and is not bulky or baggy. It just skims nice and smoothly on the back of your body. So I'm just connecting this particular edge to the top, and I'm doing that with the other side as well. So by the time we strike this side out and we just trace out the sides that we need, the pattern would create a dress that fits really nicely on the back. So next up, I'm going to be drawing in my back neckline, and like with every curve I do, I always do it by freehand first, and then I just go back and correct points that I want to either be deeper or shallower before going back in to define my curve with my pattern master. So I'm just connecting my dashed lines using this curved end of my pattern master, so I have a nice smooth curve on the back of my blazer dress. So once I'm satisfied with the line, I can go ahead and make any other corrections I want to do. I'm just connecting the top edge of the neckline to where my center back dart is, so I have a really nice smooth curve on the center back of the blazer dress. So that we're not going to be working with, we're going to be ignoring, and this is going to be panel 3 and the other side is going to be panel 4. So the side marked in red is going to be panel 3, the side marked in green is going to be panel 4, and I'm just going to get some fresh pattern paper and trace out my back patterns. This is what the back of the dress looks like. The only thing I would say is ensure that you don't have the hem as a pointed angle on the side seam edge. So instead of just having like a pointed direction, try and finish it off in a curve that goes into a straight line. So by the time you fold up the hem of the dress along the side seam on the edge, it goes back nicer into the dress along the side. I went ahead and I traced out my back patterns, added my 1 centimeter seam allowance and my 3 centimeter hem allowance along the bottom. And like we did for the other side of the front, these patterns are going to be cut on the wrong side. So not on this side that we're looking at right now. You would have to pin these patterns onto your fabric on the wrong side. Because it is an asymmetric design, you want to always keep this in mind when you're cutting your prints or your fabrics, so everything connects together nicely. So next up, we'll be making our shoulder strap, and this is an optional thing because I have full busts and I don't think I can make corsets quite yet. I want to add a strap on this side of my blazer dress. So to do this, I'm just measuring my front shoulder, the side that we got rid of for the other side of our front, and I'm going to be measuring my back shoulder up until the seam on that back neckline, and together I ended up with 14 inches in length. In terms of width, you can make yours really skinny or make yours really wide if you want to. I decided to make my shoulder strap 14 inches long and 6 centimeters or 2.5 inches wide, so it can cover my bra strap if I wanted to wear a bra with this blazer dress. The last step you need to do is duplicate your sleeve pattern, except your sleeve is to a way that you're satisfied with. I just wanted to make mine a little bit shallower on the sleeve head, so I dropped my sleeve head by 3 centimeters and I added a 2 centimeter hem allowance and made the edges come out in this direction, so when it's folded back up, it meets the seam of the sleeve along the side edges. So with that, our patterns are done. These are all of the main patterns for the sort of outer shell of the blazer dress. We have our left and right hand side for our front. Seeing it like this, it actually makes more sense compared to when I was showing it earlier on. And then we have our backs, which would connect to this side of the front if they were sort of placed on the wrong direction instead of looking at the right side of the pattern now. For this front, as we're looking at it now, as you can see, I traced out my front facings and linings for the left and for the right hand side. The front facings both have 3 centimeter hem allowance. I just corrected it on the other side of the front, so when this is connected to the lining, it's a lot easier. I also traced out my facing and my lining for my side that doesn't have a sleeve, and I also have my Riviere collar, I have my shoulder strap, and I have my sleeve. For my sleeve pattern, I plan on using the same pattern to cut my lining. I'll just make it shorter by 1 centimeter for the lining piece, so when it is sort of sewn all together, I don't see the lining on the wrong side of my dress. And with that done, these are all of my patterns complete. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, comment all of your thoughts, ideas and suggestions down below, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.